Welcome to Viewpoints. I'm Heather Isfran, and with me today is Chuck Brueggemann, First Deputy Director for Illinois State Police. Welcome, Chuck.
Thanks, Heather. It's great to be here.
Great. Well, your agency is known for being forward-leaning, and what we're wondering is what is the greatest challenge of fusion centers going forward?
Heather, I think one of the greatest challenges that fusion centers are going to face is this explosion of data. So there's a lot of discussion now about information overload. And when I think of information overload in a post 9/11 era, I really think of it from two aspects. One is that there's circular reporting that is occurring. So what I mean by that is that everybody feels compelled to, whatever it is that they receive, to push out to other peers throughout other agencies. So as data comes in, they feel compelled to push it out. And then as you, for instance, would receive that information, you feel compelled to push it out. So your peers will get it. And eventually, and over time, I will get that same piece of data a number of times, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So not only do I have to deal with, as an analyst in the Fusion Center, all of the data that comes in, now I'm having to deal with it multiple times. So that's what I mean by complexity, or that's what I mean by the circular reporting. From another aspect of information overload, I really see the complexity of the data that is now available to us. It used to be that an analyst would focus on structured data, data that was in fields. Now we have blogs and we have email, and not only do we have the written word, but we also have to be concerned about video, RFIDs, and sensors. So we have this kind of two converging issues. One is the complexity of the data that is out there and its sources, and we have the circular reporting that's occurring.
And what are your recommendations to face these challenges?
I think there's a number. First of all, I think that we need to look at how it is that technology is being developed. So instead of the IT professionals developing systems and then bringing them into the Fusion Center and saying, look, this is the system that needs to be used, I think we need to look at the context of which that analyst is working. So in other words, how is it that they go through their daily work, and how is that product going to be used, and how is it developed? And that we need to put and embed IT professionals that are developing these systems into the workplace, sitting side by side with the analyst and developing that piece of software. And then I also think from a leadership perspective, we need to understand that we need to develop systems differently. So no longer should the IT shops of a particular agency or a company be developing those systems without the initial input of the analysts. So I think that is one set of recommendations. The other is that I think that we need to look at how it is that we structure our operations. So we need to be thinking about the data and the information that is coming into the center, and we need to, instead of just disseminating that to our analysts, there needs to be an intake process where that information is analyzed. And then once it is in the center, we need to be trying to minimize the duplicative data that the analyst is going to look at. So during that analysis process, there needs to be a closer evaluation of the data. And then certainly from a dissemination standpoint, we need to resist the urge to simply push out information without giving it more thought as to who it's going to and how people may be receiving that or who they may be receiving it from already before our dissemination. So I think that those are a couple of things that we need to be thinking about, both in the development of systems, but also in how it is that we deal with that information.
And so how do you see the fusion centers evolving for the future?
That's a great question. I think that there will be this evolution, and I think there's a lot of talk now about intelligence-led policing, and I think that we need to step back and think about that from a more holistic standpoint. So instead of just police officers using intelligence to better make themselves more efficient and more effective, I think that we need to be thinking about intelligence-led public safety, so that as a fusion center looks to become all hazards and all crimes, not only are law enforcement professionals going to be staffing the fusion centers, but we're going to have professionals from public health and fire and the many other disciplines. So there will be a day when we turn to citizens to become collectors of information. And that information will be flowing through the centers. And that information then needs to be analyzed by not just police professionals, but also professionals from the many other disciplines. And then that information needs to be pushed out through those other disciplines. So I think after we do that, we're going to be better able to serve our communities. Certainly my experience here at NPS and through the CHDS program, I began to think about how it is that we're going to serve those communities from a more holistic perspective. And I think that's one of the things that we're certainly going to be taking back to our agency. And I know that Director Trent of our agency is very interested in how is it that we're going to bring those other disciplines to the table? How is it that we can use citizens to collect information, and then how can that information be better analyzed and to better serve our communities?
Well, here's to your future success. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, Heather. I appreciate it.